Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. The 3 keys to your success is just moments away. Here's your host, Brian Kelly.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. We have got an amazing show for you tonight. I cannot wait for you to meet our special guest expert, the one and only Mr. Chris Burns. Full of energy. I love this guy. We went through some very advanced training together some years ago and really got to know him at a deep level. And you're going to love him as much as I do because he comes from the heart. He's a man of integrity. The Mind Body Business Show, what is that all about? Well, I noticed over my 54 years of life on this earth, when I started following and really learning from successful people, entrepreneurs, business owners, I started noticing that there were patterns that developed for those people that were successful, that had achieved that level of success that I desired. And what I noticed was they all excelled in 3 main areas of their life. And that, of course, mind, body, and business. Mind being the mindset. And we're talking not just on a superficial or on the top level or on the surface level of the conscious mind. We are talking deep into the subconscious mind. And there are some incredible techniques. There's a science called NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming for short, which, by the way, Chris and I went through the advanced training in that together. So he knows all about the mindset that helps you to reprogram or rewire your brain for better results. And it doesn't take long at all, and it's proven. It's only a little over 38 years old, the technology, and it works. It's the science of success. And so we may talk about that, we may not tonight. It's completely organic show, and we'll see where it goes with our buddy Chris. And then there's body. Body, what does that mean? Well, it's very imperative that you take care of yours, that you exercise on a regular basis, and that you eat properly. Eat clean. You know, what goes in your body affects you. And what I like to say is the mind and body are a team. And more importantly, the mind and body are your team. Now, I like to put a little metaphor in there and say, now think about like a team of 5 players, maybe on a basketball team. A lot of people are familiar with basketball. And one player decided that he or she was not going to prepare fully for that next game, or that person did not feed himself properly and put in the conditioning so he could last long during the game, and he did not sharpen his skill sets of shooting, dribbling, passing. And now he's playing on this team. He's on the floor. There's 5 players. He's one of them. If one player did not put in the effort and time and mastery necessary, what happens to the team as a whole? Well, they suffer, don't they? It only takes one. And the same thing is true with your mind and your body. So if you are mastering your mind by utilizing the proper tools and techniques to get you farther faster, kudos to you. Good job. And then body. Make sure you're exercising regularly and getting the nutrition you need and deserve. And when you're doing both of those, you are operating at a certain level of what I call peak performance, hence the name of the company, Reach Your Peak. And then there's business. For those that are really successful, they've mastered the main areas of business, and that would be sales, marketing, and team building, which is scaling your business. And all of these take time to master. And if you're not mastering all of them yet, then when would now be the time to really start doing that? That's right. Yes, Mind Body Business Show. That is what it's all about. And what you see behind me, a lot of books. Something happened many years ago, actually. I was in the office of a CEO, multimillionaire, back in Maryland, I believe it was. Had the corner office, large, everything was expensive, big desks. And he just said, Brian, if people only knew, if people only did this one thing, if they just did this one thing, they'd all be rich. And I'm like, you know, I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me, man, what is it? And so he turns around, walks away. I'm sitting on a couch. This isn't an office, a couch, right? He turns around, he walks to the wall, the back wall, and there's this 2-door cabinet that goes from floor to ceiling. He walks up to it, he looks back at me, he grabs the handles, he opens up the shutters, the doors, and all I could see from floor to ceiling was what you see behind me were books. Personal development books, business books, lifestyle, fitness. Everything that we're talking about on this show was in his bookcase. And I did something that might shock you all, and that is I ignored that advice 100%. I did not start reading for years. Thankfully, another mentor came into my life. This is one that Chris knows very well. And he said virtually the same thing. All you need to do is read. That's the cornerstone for everything. You just got to read the right books. And so not only did he tell me and us, the whole team, but he showed by example, walking around with a headset, listening to books all the time. I said, listening to books, huh? I think that sounds like an idea. So I ended up started listening to books on Audible, an application called Audible. And I began really loving it because it turned out I retain and I'm able to retain the information much better, and I pay more attention listening than I do if I'm reading a physical book. I tend to get sleepy if I read a physical book. So everyone has a different mode, and that's mine, Audible. And then I noticed as I'm driving along, I can play this in my car, whereas otherwise I would be doing nothing really productive. I would be listening to music or something else. But now I can saturate my mind with the goodness of success in business and in life while I'm driving. And then I noticed that Audible, this app that I'm listening to the books on, has this little icon, little ribbon, looks like. It's actually a bookmark. And what you do is if you hear something that is like, man, I want to really bookmark that. I want to spotlight that and come back to it later because that was important. You just tap that little icon and instantly it's stored. And so that's what I began doing over the course of several years now. And what I want to do is right at this time segue into a segment that I call bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. There you see it next to me. And if for those of you watching the show right now, please stay with us. Just take notes. Write this stuff down. In other words, don't go running off to websites or resources that may be announced on the show right now, but go ahead and take notes and do it after the show because you don't want to miss Chris Burns. I'm telling you right now, you must stay with us. So this is a website I put together for a specific reason, and that reason was all of you. It wasn't for me. This is a compilation of books running around 40 right now. I think I'm 3 or 4 behind in listing them on this website, but here you see they start. Oh, and by the way, that story I just alluded to, the entire story with that gentleman in the corner office is right here on video, or you can read it. It's all there. But what I did was I compiled a list of all these books, and I got the links for every type or form that the book is offered in. So in this instance, you see there's one for Audible, hardcover, and Kindle on both of these. If it had it, I put it on the site to make it easy for you. And the beautiful thing about this is, so not every book I've read went onto this list. And so I put a filter in, and that was so that when you come to the site, you can at least know that it has been vetted by at least another entrepreneur, and so the odds of it having impact for you are greater. I'm not guaranteeing it will, but it would be greater, and it'll save you time. And so what I did was I started listening, as I said before, and bookmarking. And I love to pick a section of a book and play it back on this show. It only takes about a minute, and I always pick a bookmark that's pertinent and relevant to the guest speaker that's coming on. So without further ado, we're going to bring up none other than the 10X Rule by Uncle Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone, GC. You're going to find out about Chris here in just a minute, right after this bookmark plays, that this book is going to be rewritten by Chris Burns, and we're going to cross out 10X and put in 12X, and you'll know why in a moment. It's amazing, but it's about a minute. Let's listen to Uncle Grant. Just about a minute. Listen closely and take notes, and then we'll bring on the man himself, CB Chris Burns. Here we go.
Calling on companies cold taught me more about taking massive action and then grooving that discipline in that was natural to me anyway, and natural to each of you than any other activity I've ever done, and has proved more valuable to me in all my other ventures. See, when you're taking massive action, you're not thinking in terms of hours or calls. When you start operating at the 4th degree, your mindset shifts, and so will the results. You'll end up instigating opportunities that you'll have to address earlier, later, and in a different way than you would on a normal day, So a routine day will become a thing of the past. You understand? See, when you start operating at massive, you instigate situations. You trigger stuff and make things happen that you then have to say, oh, I got to be there earlier. I got to stay there later. The normal day just drops out. Routine things are a thing of the past. I continued this commitment to massive action until one day it was no longer an unusual activity at massive, but a habit.
And we'll stop it right there. And the reason I brought that bookmark up is because there is no one that I know that epitomizes the words massive action more than our special guest expert.
It's time for the guest expert spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited to bring on this gentleman, Chris Burns, my friend, my buddy, my co-student at one point. Real quickly, I want to give him an adequate introduction, and then we'll bring him on, let him actually move his mouth and say stuff, which is what we all want because he brings massive value at all times. Since hitting rock bottom at an early age, Chris has become an expert in the fields of mindset, business, and leadership. Now, entrepreneurs and leaders hire Chris to reignite their self-belief and clarity so they take massive action and create a huge impact. And the cool thing, I just want to segue real quick, is, he talks about taking massive action, but this is one guy that doesn't just talk about it. He is a perfect example of it. That is why his following is so strong. He's spoken at more than 90 live events across the United States. And since last year, Chris has interviewed, check this out, last year, 1 year, over 300 inspirational role models, influencers, and leaders on his weekly, and this will make you fall out of your seat. Every single week, he does a 12-hour straight live streamed marathon, and boy is it, and podcast called Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. You definitely want to get connected with Chris. We'll give you the opportunity to do that near the end of the show. And by the way, real quick, watch this show to the very end. If you're watching live, definitely watch it to the end because you will have an opportunity to win a complimentary stay at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico. Compliments of powertexting.com, my good buddy Jason Ness' company. And by the way, he just visited himself and said it was a phenomenal location and he loved it. So you'll definitely want to stick out. Oh, and there might be, just thinking, there might be an additional gift. I don't know, Chris, that this guy may have brought to the table that he's willing to give as well. So definitely stay on the end because that's when we'll announce that. So without further ado, Mr. Burns, Chris Burns, my goodness, I gave an intro about you from your bio. Those were your words, but I would like, if you don't mind, if you could give the viewers a little bit more in depth about, what actually gets you out of bed and going every single day, and more about Chris Burns at the heart level, and what are you currently up to? What's your most recent project that you're very passionate about?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Brian. I appreciate you, man, and it's such a pleasure to be here. And everyone who's listening, definitely stay around to the end, not only for the gifts, but I believe that in life we can transform in an instant. One idea, one new perspective, one concept can really transform our entire lives. So for me, what gets me out of bed in the morning is knowing that I get to put people on a platform where they get to share their message, where they get to impact the world in a bigger way. And I get to put them in the spotlight with the time and the energy that I've invested into this platform to build it up so that they can be celebrated as the hero. Because growing up, I always wanted to be this hero. I always wanted to be in the video game characters. I wanted to be celebrated. I wanted to be, the powerful hero that everyone wanted to be around because I felt so out of place and misunderstood and like I didn't belong anywhere. And I had to grow through that, of course. And, I built my coaching company about 3.5 years ago, started it, and then launched our 12-hour marathon. So really what gets me up in the morning is knowing that I get to play the game of life I get to grow myself, my character, and just go out there and have fun while learning, while making a difference, while serving, and while creating impact in the world. And a lot of people think that, oh, you have to transform a million people's lives, or, you know, have a million people following on your show. And it's one of the principles that we share at Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, the 12-hour marathon, that we change one person's life at a time. And if we're too good for one person's life at a time, then it's not about the person's life. It's not about the difference you get to make. It's more like the ego. It's more like the status and stuff like that. So I'm grateful that we get to change one person's life at a time. We do that through coaching, Burn It Up Coaching, our coaching company. We help entrepreneurs, high achievers to really amp up their results, get unstuck, get that clarity, get back into action so they can succeed like never before. So that's the coaching side. And then we've been doing this marathon, 12-hour marathon, for about a year and a half now. The number is actually above 360 guests that we've interviewed in the last year and a half. So it just keeps growing, man. When I sent that to you, it's like life keeps growing, life keeps thriving. So that's what's been going on, and life just keeps getting better and better, Brian.
That's one of the things I truly love about you, and I knew this from the day I met you because of your energy level, that you are an all-in action taker. And I knew that there were big things in store for you because you had the drive, the tenacity, the perseverance, all in your personality rolled into one. And I thought, man, this young man is shooting for stardom. He's going to hit it. He's already hit a certain level with all these shows. So we were kidding before the show. Real quick story, that Chris does 12-hour marathons, and so I do a 1-hour show once a week. So it takes me 12 weeks to put out as many hours as he does every single week in one day. And it's amazing how I understand the amount of effort that goes behind building a show and bringing on guests and getting everything organized. And you are 12xing it, no kidding, because it's 12-hour marathon. Yeah. And I'm so proud of you as a friend, and because we went through some really awesome training together and we got to know each other at a deep level. And I appreciate you, number one, for being on this show, and also you had invited me and I was able to appear on your amazing marathon. And I was happy that I didn't have to stick on the whole 12 hours, I got to tell you. Whew, I don't know how you do it, my brother. That's awesome. We were talking a little bit in the onset, or I was, about the importance of reading and how it can impact and does impact your life if you take it seriously, you read voraciously. And I was curious, there's a pattern that follows successful people. Is that also true of you, Chris? Do you consider yourself an avid reader? And if so, what's the latest book you're diving into right now?
Yeah, so I definitely consider myself an avid reader, and I love how you talked about Audible, because a lot of people think that they have to read a physical book to be able to get the knowledge, and there's all sorts of different mediums that people can learn through, whether it's auditory, whether it's visual, whether it's kinesthetic. First of all, find out what's going to work for you. That's a key golden nugget that I think everyone needs to know, is what works for you. What's the source that's going to work for you? So I just want to throw that in there, because you might find a teacher or a person who you look up to, a celebrity, an influencer, a coach, whatever, that resonates with you and your style and your gifts and how you are committed to showing up, versus other people might resonate with someone else. So trust your gut, trust your instincts, and be on that constant pursuit of learning about you. So yes, I'm an avid reader, and right now, of course, I want to learn how to perform more. So this is High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard, and I'm on the section right now of Raising Necessity, because I found one of my challenges is even though I have a 12-hour marathon, even though I have all these guests and opportunity, I still find myself being challenged to raise my bar, to get to the next level, to challenge myself to grow even more and get outside of my comfort zone and take on bigger projects and bigger goals and bigger dreams. So for me, it's always a discovery process of how do I cultivate that fire even more? How do I create that burning desire within me even more, so I go take even more massive action? Because that's one of my biggest gifts, is my energy, my presence. Whenever I'm doing anything, I'm laser focused. Whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, I'm present and available with them right there. So High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard and Raising That Necessity is what I'm focusing on right now.
I love this guy. Truly, man, you're a great example for others to follow, and and I kid you not, of the folks that I've interviewed thus far, there isn't a single one that has says, no, I'm not an avid reader. I don't read ever. Every single one, because I only bring on those who I know are successful, because I want that to be, this kind of value to be given to the audience each and every time. So a pattern is something that happens over and over and over again. Now, I've already noticed these patterns, and now I have the gift of giving those patterns to you, the audience, by way of people just like Mr. Burns right here. And every single successful person I have ever met, if I ask them, do you read on a consistent basis, and they almost want to slap me. Of course I do. Of course I do. Are you kidding me? Speaking of slapping, no, we're not going to go there. But we are going to go into the physical realm. That is, so reading is great. You're feeding your mind. You're staying on point with your NLP skills. You are Chris Burns. And you heard from the onset that the mind and body are a team, that they are your team, and you know the importance of that. I've seen you up front. You're solid as a brick house. You're built. And I know it's important to you, but how important is physical fitness to you and your business and your personal life?
Great question. And I believe that the answer to that, the value in that, will come from why people want to be physically fit in the first place. For me, it was a driver to be enough. In the beginning, I was playing sports in high school. I was this really shrimpy, small little kid, and I joined football my senior year. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these people who are benching 2 plates or 3 plates and squatting and putting up a lot of weight, really moving very, very heavy objects, lots of metal. And I saw that, wow, these people are so much stronger than me, and that cultivated that drive within me to be as good as them, because I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel attractive enough. I didn't feel confident enough. So that's where that fire set into me. And probably about 6-7 years or so into it, I graduated probably about 10 years ago, coming up on 10 years here pretty soon. And that fire set into me. But after a while, it stopped becoming about trying to be good enough. And it started becoming about, wow, this actually makes me feel good. It's not just going to the gym, and then as soon as I leave the gym, changing my mindset and saying, oh, I can go eat pizza, I can go eat hamburgers, I can go drink Coke, I can go drink beer, whatever it might be. Like, no, it started becoming a lifestyle. It's like, wait, why am I putting in all this time at the gym if I just walk out of the gym and go sabotage myself? So that driver started shifting into, well, I really want to have holistic wellness. I really want to perform at my optimum level. So in that light, I started going to Zumba, dancing, to get more flow in my life, because I felt like I was really rigid with my weightlifting. I went to school for electrical engineering, so it was very analytical and strategic and masculine focus. And then I started doing yoga when I was doing Zumba, and just really getting this more holistic picture of health in my life, because I believe that there's so many dimensions of health. There's so many different ways that people can achieve that and facilitate that. So I think it's important for people to find out why you want to be healthy. What's the driver? Who do you want to be around long enough to see? Is it your grandkids? Is it long enough to see your legacy or your impact in the communities that you're a part of? So for me, I believe that when you focus on the why, then you'll be able to take much better actions within your health, and you'll want to study it. You'll want to study your biology. You'll want to study how the body works, physiology. You'll want to study physics. How does physics work on your body? How does the science of life, the laws of the universe, really impact your body and your being and how you show up in life? So I started becoming fascinated with that along my road of coaching and really expanding my mindset and raising my awareness of who am I, why do I do what I do, and how do I get to where I want to go. So that's my answer.
And that's why you're on this show, buddy, because you sounded like me talking to my clients as I was onboarding them. I kid you not. I kid you not. That was absolutely perfect, because you said it right in the onset. The value is, why do people want to be physically fit? And that's a big one. And that's what I do with I have a 90 days to peak performance program, and it's intense. And their why better be more than, I want to shed 30 pounds. It better be more than a guy saying, I want the 6-pack abs. I said, well, if that's all you want, then I can't take you on as my client. You need to have a bigger reason. One that's actually, we will often do more for others than we will for ourselves. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And so instead of them focusing all on how is this going to impact me, I will feel better. That's good. All that's good. I'll feel better and I'll be able to operate at a higher level. But what impact will that have on your family, on your friends, on your colleagues, those closest to you, if you don't address your health? What impact will that have? Because the way you show up is going to affect everyone around you. And so when it's those that are closest to you, the ones that you love, and you really think, oh my gosh, I want to be 100% wholly present like Chris Burns is with all of his clients, with my family at all times, not just to live longer, yes, that's part of it, but while I'm alive and while I'm with them, I want to be 100% present with them. And that is a bigger why. And that is a reason that will get people and push them through to the finish line of a 90-day intense program, or just, and then after 90 days, it becomes a habit. You have the habit, Chris Burns. And the thing is, it gets addictive, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's like, it was one of the most easy things for me. Like when it was at first like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. It's like tiring, exhausting, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, I'd rather go to the gym than make sales calls at times. It's like, let me go to the gym to lift weights. That's what my body naturally wants to do. And I'm grateful for it. It feels good. It releases endorphins and adrenaline, all kinds of really cool stuff. And I also wanted to mention, wherever people are at, whether they are at the beginning of their journey and saying, hey, I know I want more, but I don't really know what I want. I don't know what my why is. I don't know what drives me. Be willing to take the daily actions to get clear on that. Because I didn't get this clarity on my why and what drives me in cultivating this fire overnight. It takes time. It's the compound effect. Darren Hardy wrote the book called The Compound Effect, one of the very first personal development books that I ever read. And it changed my life because I started recognizing, oh, it's not just about today. And it's not just about, did I do it? Or if I didn't do it, beating myself up and saying, oh, all hope's lost, I'm giving up. No, it's the long term. It's the micro actions compounded over time that really produce massive results in your life. So wherever you're at, if you are crystal clear on your purpose or completely fuzzy, just take daily actions on reinforcing that and reminding yourself, why am I doing this? Oh, that's right, because of my kids, because of my family, because of the people I love.
More golden nuggets, because the compound effect, I love that. That's on reachyourpeaklibrary.com, of course.
Yes.
And it's true in health and fitness and mental clarity, as it is in your business life. And what you just said is absolutely true on all points, because so many people they see an entrepreneur who's successful and they look at that person not knowing everything they went through to get to where they are, thinking that it happened overnight. It took them maybe 4 or 5 months and now they're crushing it because they got the best sales funnel on the planet and great Facebook ads. Well, we're both here to tell you that is not how it works, and it is by micro actions, but it is about taking as much of those actions as you can in a massive fashion. And continually, consistently, with discipline. See, these are the patterns that kept cropping up with all the interviews I've done, Chris. You're no different. With all this discipline and having a regimented life to repeat and continually add, money to that bank, in the form of action. And the more you do it, like Chris was just aptly saying, it compounds and grows. And then you'll start getting that momentum. But you have to do it consistently, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you get knocked backward. Another reason to have an important why, not just for getting physically fit, but for what is your why to make that business go. And that's a whole topic for another day. There's an entire process that I've actually taken people through from stage at speaking events to help them determine their whys. And like you said, that first why, if you go through that process again, it may be a different why later. It doesn't necessarily stick, and it may not be the one, but you're going to have a much better why when you're done and be able to really crush it, not just in business but also in life. And one of the things I've always loved about you from the moment I met you, man, was you have this you're doing it right now. You're smiling, you're glowing. For those of you that are watching, when the show was starting and it was just my mug on the camera, you hadn't seen him yet. I could see him the whole time, and the entire time he's doing what he's doing right now. He's smiling. I mean, he doesn't have to smile when he's not on camera, but that's him. That's Chris. So when it comes to doing that, to maintaining a positive, productive, successful mindset, what is it that you do on a regular basis to sustain that?
Yeah, so I could talk about all the different habits that I engage in. There's a morning routine and nighttime routine that I every single day without fail go through, because that is the cornerstone to my success in the day. It's the bookmarks, the bookends. I could talk about that, and I'm sure you could find out all kinds of really cool stuff about that. And you can go out there. You can go out and get those answers, get the habits. What is more important for me that has really made a difference is learning to track and measure how successful I am with those habits. Because it's easy to say, oh, well, I didn't do my journaling this morning. And then a day goes by and, oh, well, I didn't do it yesterday, so I'm not going to do it today. And then another day goes by. And, for me, when I wasn't tracking my habits, I would fall off track for months and months. And there was times in my life where I had picked up personal development and reading, but then I would stop doing it because I was like, I don't need to read. I'm watching TED Talks, or I'm watching YouTube videos, listening to motivational stuff, whatever. Like, I had these excuses, and I recognized that there's a holistic picture that needs to be accomplished in that very first part of the day. And at the end of the day, to be able to really bring back integrity to how I'm showing up, and to get complete on anything that is stressing me out or overwhelming, to leave it at the door, so to speak, to let it go, to get complete on it and move into sleep and be at peace, and then wake up in the day and whatever I was dealing with yesterday, to make sure I left it in yesterday so I start the day effectively. And I couldn't do that unless I was certain about how I was performing. I had to see the scoreboard of how am I doing this week with my habits. And when I have to look at that piece of paper, I have a habit tracker that I can tell your audience about, or we can put it in the show notes, whatever it might be. Best week ever habit tracker, so that you get to measure your habits. I track my habits every single day. What are the top things that I need to be doing? How many sales calls did I make today? How many video messages did I send to people to connect with them? How did I do on my morning and nighttime routine? How much money did I earn this week? Being able to track those vital key metrics in your life is one of the most important things that I have found to be able to be successful. So it's the mindset of wanting to know how you're doing, of the mindset of what's the score? What is the score right now? How am I feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? Where am I at? And if you don't know that you're constantly moving that up a little bit, inch by inch by inch, then you don't know if you're improving. You don't know if you're getting closer. If you don't know what your income was 3 months ago, or at least you may not have to pull it off the top of your head, but if you can't go back and just pull up a piece of paper and say, hey, my income was this, and this month it's this. If you're not able to instantly access that information to see if you are measurably increasing and improving, then you're missing out on a lot of peace of mind. You're missing out on a lot of certainty. You're missing out on a lot of compounded confidence because of tracking what you're doing. Compounded confidence that that you're on track. That you're doing your daily actions, or at least that, hey, I missed this day and this day, but I'll get it back. I'll make it back this week. So that's my biggest tip for mindset is, of course, the morning and nighttime routines, and then tracking your habits is the biggest thing that's made the difference for me. And then if you don't have someone to hold yourself accountable with, I have a mastermind, I have coaches. If you don't have someone to hold yourself accountable with, that tracking system can just go right out the window, and you'll be using it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. You're not even using it anymore, and nobody's going to know any better. You won't notice, they won't notice. Oh, well, you just keep going on with your life. So I highly recommend accountability plus the tracking.
Yes. So I hope everyone out there listening and watching are taking notes as I am. I mean, you have no excuse now. I'm the host of the show, and I'm taking notes. And that's why I take the camera off of myself, so I can spend time writing as he's talking. And tracking, that's phenomenal, because when I started doing that a weird, neat, amazing thing happened. I started realizing, my gosh, I get up early and I go to bed way too late every day. No wonder I'm always tired. Until I saw it on paper consistently, I was like, oh, we got to change that. And started actually scheduling out my day hour by hour and doing the best I could to stick with it. And a wonderful thing happened. I noticed I got a lot more done. Mm-hmm. And when I did it, I was much more focused, because the deadline of the next hour was coming up, and I'm looking at my schedule. And so you're right on par. And it's interesting, coming from a corporate world, everything was scheduled for us. You punched the clock at a certain time, you went to eat lunch at a certain time. If you were hourly, you had breaks at a certain time. You'd leave and go home at a certain time. And I just remembered really not liking that, because someone else was pulling the strings of my life. And then I started embracing the entrepreneur life, and I said, good, now I don't have to schedule anything. I'm free. And then I start reading books and meeting entrepreneurs and find out the exact opposite is true, that they're more scheduled and regimented than any corporate employee ever could dream of. And I was like going through withdrawal symptoms, like, please, no, I just want to do what I want, when I want, anytime I want. I don't want to have to structure my life. I just got out of that. And then it occurred to me, one thing was, but guess who gets to make that schedule?
That's right.
That's the key. And once I realized that, I said, hey, this is mine, I own it. I can make my day whatever I want, just get a disciplined structure. So discipline is a word that comes up in describing everything you just said, Chris, as well. And it gives a whole new meaning to knowing your numbers, right? You're always told to know your numbers as a business, and they're typically talking about financial. In this case, it's also, what are you doing? I love the compounded confidence phrase. I love that. What are you doing on a daily basis that's counting up, adding numbers to your compounding confidence number? And then accountability partner. That actually hasn't come up for quite some time, for a few shows. I used to mention it every show. Thank you for bringing that back up, because if you don't have help, if you don't have somebody, kind of giving you a little kick in the butt, virtual one, and you're doing the same for them, you're helping each other, then you're going to likely drop into a hole and go back to your old habits, because there's no one to hold you accountable. So extremely powerful suggestions that you follow. So that's the thing. Everyone watching and listening, he's not just saying, I think it would be good for you to do that. I don't do that, but I think it would be good for you. No, he's not saying that. He's a product of the product. He walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. Uh-oh.
Boom shakalaka.
There it is. Yes. Proof right here. You just saw it. For you, those of you listening later on a recorded podcast, he held up his sheet where he tracks his compounded confidence numbers. I love it.
That's right.
Love it. Fantastic. Switching gears a little bit.
Sure.
One of the things that I've always been extremely curious about, and other entrepreneurs as well are extremely curious about, is how others, what do they use? When it comes to business, marketing itself is the lifeblood, right? I find it so interesting and intriguing that when cutbacks come in a company, that marketing department is often the first to go, which it should be the absolute opposite. They just cut their own lifeline. And the interesting thing with entrepreneurs to me, though, is because marketing is so multifaceted. There are so many ways to market. And that's, I think, is one reason in and of itself that many have not found a successful model to follow, because they don't know where to start and how many to pull from. And so on that note, I'm curious, and I ask this of most guests that come on, how do you, Chris Burns, go about marketing your business? And then, well, like today, like as of now, what currently, right now, would you say is your most successful form of marketing, so you can help everyone out who's listening, including yours truly, because I'm always looking for additional tidbits on improving my marketing?
Yeah, well, I think you're hitting this one on the head right now, Brian, because it's honestly through getting people onto my platform. It's learning how to give first. It's learning how to put other people in the spotlight, creating joint venture partnerships, creating a platform, a place where you can interview people, a podcast, a Facebook Live show, whatever and wherever, however it is, even if it's a live event. Bringing in other speakers, and they get to bring their audience to come visit them and see them and find out about your group, your monthly mastermind, your monthly speaking engagements or events, whatever it might be. For me, it's having all these guests come on the show, and I get to give them a platform, right? We interview up to 9 guests a week. The first 2 hours are coaching hours. The last hour is like a celebration hour and integration of all the notes that I've been taking all day long. So we get 9 guests on every single week. So when we have those 9 guests on, they each share it with their audience. Now, I'm not saying you need to have a 9 guest long platform and every week get 9 new guests, 9 new influencers, people who are changing the world, experts to tap into their audience. But I believe that we are in this age, this social media age, where it's so essential to be able to share our audiences, because even though I may have 7,000 people or whatever on Facebook following me right now, friends or followers, not everyone is going to want to buy my products. That's just the fact. It's just the truth, okay? And Brian, when he comes on my show, one of those or many of those people or most of those people, whatever the case may be, some of those people are going to want to take the next step with him because they resonate with him, because they vibe with him, because they get him, because he went through similar challenges or obstacles that they are going through, and they see him as the credible expert. So for me, I recognize to stop making it about me and to celebrate other people, whether that's putting people on your platform, whether it's creating a compilation book and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to put 20 people in a book and we're going to put it all together. You could charge people to be in the book, or if it's the first one, you can, just have them contribute and say, hey, let's do this together. Whatever the case might be, it's to tap into the community. It's to tap into the power of tribes that people have built, the trust that people have built, and leverage that as a good person, someone of integrity and ethics and doing the right thing because it's the right thing and following through and all that good stuff, honoring your word. Follow through and you will be able to build a brand of loyal associates, loyal people who've come on your platform, who you've shared a platform with, and you'll be able to reach their audience and potentially, bring people from your audience to theirs and vice versa. And I think that sharing audience is one of the best, fastest way for someone to go from obscurity and being unknown to being an influencer, to being someone who actually makes an impact in thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people's lives. So that would be my guidance, is to create your own platform.
That is another gem, and I can obviously relate to that one, being that we're doing that this very moment. And a live event, and you're right, everyone, every single one of you watching this or listening to this, if you're not doing your own live interview show, I would highly recommend it for many, many reasons. There are so many intangibles, that's the word, right? There are so many intangibles. A great example was I had one guest that I only knew on Facebook, but I knew him through a mutual friend. My mutual friend reached out and said, hey, Brian's a really cool guy, you should be on a show. And he agreed. He came on the show, and as a result of that, I began nurturing a relationship with him. And we now are friends, and he then invited me to an exclusive mastermind event in Southern California at a castle, a literal castle. And I went because I had this new connection and new friend, and I wanted to learn more about what he was doing. And as a result of that, I made more connections, two of which I will be meeting in Arizona next week, all because this show, because of what Chris is talking about. Those are the intangibles. So now you're meeting people that are, that are more successsul than you. Yeah. And sometimes you don't even know it till they come on the show. We do our best to vet people, but I don't straight out ask how much money you're making and what's your following base and all that. It's about providing value. And if I see someone like Chris who has that value to bring, who is successful, then I bring them on. And yes, it's about giving. It's what you just said. Your marketing approach is relationship building. That's what it comes down to. Yes. If I were to put it in, would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And whenever I want to launch something in the future, because I've given something first, I've given value first, then they're going to be open to that conversation. They're going to be open to saying, yeah, I'm interested in doing some kind of affiliate work with you. And now, since I've been doing this a year and a half, I have 360 plus guests to tap into to say, hey, I'm launching this product. You want to help? You want a piece of the pie, so to speak? There's plenty to go around.
It's the easiest way to develop that know, like, and trust factor, isn't it? I mean, you're giving. I don't charge anybody to come onto my show presently. I don't have any plans to. Who knows? Things may change, but right now I don't. I'm not looking at this to make money directly. I am looking at this to, become more of a brand, I'm just being transparent, to become more recognizable out there, and it's working. Because this show right now is being streamed live to 9 different platforms all over the place. 3 different Facebook platforms, 2 YouTube, Periscope, Stream.me, Twitch. There's one more I'm probably forgetting, and it gets instantly shared to many more. I'm a technology geek as well, and I found all these really cool tools to enable me to basically multiply myself many times by one click of a button. It's phenomenal. And the thing is, though, speaking is very important. I wanted to touch on that real quick, Chris, because that's the main thing I noticed that holds people back from embarking on this. Now, if you're worried about being in front of a camera, then start as an audio-only podcast, and start there. podcasts they're not going anywhere. They are supremely popular. In fact, many people listen to podcasts in their car just as I listen to Audible in the car, and they subscribe. I had no idea till I had another guest on the show that told me about this unbelievable old world of podcasts that is still really crushing it. And so just show up, come up with it takes a little time to develop it, to put it together. You don't have to be perfect out of the chute. That's the key, is paralysis by analysis. You want to make it perfect? Don't. Just bring on a friend, someone you know that you've met, that you know is an entrepreneur, or that they have a similar value system as you, and just have a chat with them and record it live. And start there. That's how I did it several years ago with a business partner when I first started interviewing people live. And it just gets better every single time.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's how I started too. I started asking myself multiple times, and it came up multiple times in conversations, me and new people I was meeting for the very first time, very first calls, and we're like, oh my gosh, this conversation was epic. Why weren't we recording this? This is gold. And so finally, universe is like, hey, wake up, are you listening? It keeps coming up. So then I started my show.
It's so funny you say that, because most of my guests, I won't name any names, that not all of them did this, Chris Burns, but most of my guests will come on. I have them come on with me sometime before the show to test, to ensure their technology is up to snuff. I already knew Chris's was fine. He does this every single week for 12 hours. Come on. So it wasn't that imperative. The thing I noticed, though, is during these tech tests, I call them, pre-show tech tests, is we end up doing that. We start talking, because that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what we love. That's what we talk about. And I'm going, oh my God, I should have, the same thing. Oh, these would be great outtakes for like a sizzle reel later to say, when we're joking around and stuff, but we're also very serious. And we do entire shows during the tech test. And I tell them that. I said, we just finished the show. We don't need to go live. I just need to record it next time. And it's amazing. So, yeah, it's funny that you said that you need to record this, because, and actually, on that note, I am going to start recording each and every one. And for those that I get outtakes from, of course, I'll get permission from the individual to make sure they're cool with it. Because I never do anything to embarrass somebody. Never would. I'm looking at my notes. Another way to get out. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
It's because you're a good guy. You're a good guy.
I try to be. I'm not perfect.
You are, man. You're one of the most genuine guys that I've ever met, and I'm grateful that I connected with you so deeply at the first trainings that we met at, because I was like, man, this guy just really is so committed to the students and the participants learning and growing and breaking through. So I really acknowledge you, man. You got a big, big heart.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now stop it. This show is about you. Yeah, no, please stop. Please don't. No more. No more, please. No more. Thank you. I appreciate that, Chris. I have similar feelings about you, my brother. You already know that. It's going to be a love fest here. So I can't believe it. It's already 10 minutes until the end. And the thing is, I don't want this one to end. And the cool thing is, with doing this live show format, I don't have to, because I can go as long as I want. But
that's right.
we're gonna stick as close as we can to being regimented, scheduled, and disciplined about our approach. See, we got to practice what we preach. And so there's one final question, Chris, that I've asked every previous guest, and I always save it for last, because it's one of the heaviest hitting, deep hitting questions that I get to ask, and the answers are always very intriguing from our guests, the past guests, and I know it's going to be no different with you. And so when I do bring that question up, I just wanted you to know right now, if it takes you a little bit of time to think about the answer, to mull it over, perfectly okay. Don't sweat that. I mean, you're a pro. You've been on camera so long. You could probably sit there silent for 20 minutes and not get nervous about it. But just, when it comes up next, that next question, then just take your time and see what you think. So that last question, actually, in a moment, we'll bring that up, because first, for those of you watching live, you're probably wondering, well, Brian, what the heck? You're near the end. Where's this free trip giveaway? I say, oh, that's right. You know what? It's right now. So Ding. It is time. Yes, it is time for me to disclose how you can enter to win that exclusive 5-night stay at a 5-star luxury resort in Mexico. So I'm going to pull it up on the screen right now to give you the info, and I will say it audibly for those of you just listening, if you have your phone and you're driving, hopefully you're not watching and listening and just listening alone. But now would be a time to pull over if you are driving, so you can do the following. One is either there's two ways to enter. You can go to a website, and that is reachyourpeakllc.com/vacation. And just ensure that the word vacation is all lowercase. In fact, just type the whole thing lowercase. That way you don't get confused. reachyourpeakllc.com/vacation. Or it might be easier for you if you're on your phone is text. Just text the word peak. That's PEAK to the number 661-535-1624. One more time, that's peak, PEAK, to 661-535-1624. I will be monitoring that, and depending on the number that come in and how steady, we may announce it right before we close up the show, or I will just reach out to the winner directly through text or Facebook that way. All right, so go ahead and do that right now, and then come right back. I hope you're done already, because it's time to bring Chris back on. And I can imagine the poor guy is there sweating bullets, like, oh my gosh, Brian's like throwing this massive nail biter question. But actually I actually do want to ask a different question first. Not that big one just yet. I know. He's like, come on, man. You're leaving me hanging, brother. I like this one. This is kind of a newer question that's come up recently on past shows. And it kind of puts you in the driver's seat, Chris. If you were conducting this interview, which you conducted so many, as we heard, 360 plus, what kind of question would you like to have someone like me ask you, number one? And then number two, how would you respond to that very question?
I don't know why this popped up in my mind, but for me, what I would ask if I were you is, what is something that makes you cry tears of joy?
Okay, Chris Burns, what is something that makes you cry tears of joy?
What makes me cry tears of joy is those moments where I just recognize how blessed I am, how beautiful life is, how each and every moment is a gift. And I could have been dealt any other set of circumstances. I could have been, born without limbs. I could have been born without sight. I could have been born without hearing. Someone's in jail somewhere, spending the rest of their life in jail. Like, I am so happy and grateful that I am who I am. And it's in those moments where I'm with people, with another person, especially my loved ones, my amazing girlfriend, the woman of my dreams. Like, it's in those moments where I'm just sitting there in bliss and just able to soak it in and able to have that level of euphoria and not have necessarily a reason to do it and not have anyone to impress or any reason. There's there's no script in it. It's just like, it hits you. And it wakes you up to why we're really here, why we're doing this thing called life. And I've never even thought about this question, or never even thought about like what really makes me cry tears of joy. But it's in those moments where I get to sit in bliss, in love, in the pride of who I am and who I'm being, who I'm becoming, and how life is unfolding around me, and all the gifts that life is blessing me with. And that the universe, God, source, creator, whatever we want to call it, life, I just feel so divinely blessed and able to create my reality, empowered, equipped to be, do, and have anything I desire. And I couldn't ask for any more. Like we're basically given, I don't want to say cheat codes, but the answers, the path, the hints, the wake up calls to life to say, hey, here's the answer. Focus on clarity, focus on the daily actions, focus on blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'm just so grateful for all that. So that's when I get hit by life, that life is so beautiful and amazing. That's what makes me cry tears of joy.
The attitude of gratitude will set you free, my brother.
That's right.
And look at the passion. Did you notice the passion in Chris's face, in his voice? He changed the speed in which he was talking. He got very kinesthetic. That means he was talking slower because he felt this to his core. That's the thing about Chris. He's raw and he's authentic. And I know few people that are as authentic as Chris, and I kid you not. This is a gentleman you want to connect with for a long term. And so be like he is. Be respectful of others. And the reason, I'm feeling the underlying reason that you feel so blessed that you have all of these tools, this education, this talent, and these people around you is so that, because you've chosen to do just that, so that you could serve more people and help more people to become more successful and to learn the life-changing attitude that you exhibit each and every day. And so you're a gem. You're just an absolute gem. And we do have that one more question to go to.
Oh, do we? We still have another one?
Big,
one more?
heavy hitting. But I think there was a little birdie told me that there might be one more gift that was going to be given away. And I think it was by somebody by the name of Chris Burns, if I'm not mistaken. So if you wouldn't mind giving a brief discussion, because we're coming up on 3 minutes, and I want to give you time to really think about that last question that's coming up right after this. What is that gift that you're willing to give to my wonderful viewers and listeners?
Oh, man. So I actually wanted to double it up since I talked about the habit tracker. I didn't go 12x, but I did go 2x in this gift giving portion. Brian didn't even know about this, but here's what you can have. It's a strategy session with me, and because you were on this show, the Mind Body Business show, because you were here with Brian, because you either found out about it from me, from Brian, from whatever, the ether, the internets, you got here, then you can join me on a strategy session, 30 minutes complimentary, because you are here. It's valued at $125, and what we'll do is we'll get clear on your biggest thorns in your side. What are your biggest challenges, the biggest pains, so that you can get clear on what it is that you're out to accomplish in your life. If you're lacking clarity, if you're lacking energy, drive, excitement to be able to have the most fulfilling life possible, to be your greatest possible self, then this is a strategy session that could be your wake-up call that changes everything for you. I'm not promising it, but if you step up to the plate, I know you'll be satisfied and happy. So definitely go to beyourgps.com/strategy session, and you can access this page that's on here. Actually, it's right over here. Boom. It's for anyone who's listening, I just pointed to it. Brian pulled it up on the screen. Thank you, Brian. So that's beyourgps.com/strategy session. That's a 30-minute session. And then you can also go to beyourgps.com/habit tracker, and then you can get that habit tracker, the same one that I use every single week. I give it to my clients. I give it to my mastermind members. We all turn it in. It just is the best freaking tool ever. So beyourgps.com/habit tracker. You can get that free download as well. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact me. I'm sure we'll let you know how you can do that as well at the end of this. But those are the two things that I have for you. Definitely take advantage of them, because they've made a huge difference in my life. Because I know I've received coaching calls and strategy sessions from others that really blessed me, that gave me clarity, that empowered me, and I'm excited to give that back to you, as well as the tracking of the habits, which has completely revolutionized my ability to be productive and efficient and a high performer.
Wow, thank you so very much. For those of you listening and watching, Be Your GPS, and GPS stands for?
Greatest possible self.
Greatest spot. So I love that, because other people are thinking global positioning system. What does that have? Now it's Be Your Greatest Possible Self. beyourgps.com/strategy session. That's all one word, no hyphens, no underscores, correct?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I have it on the screen. That's what you will see if you type it in correctly. And then simply schedule your free session with Chris. Thank you. That's amazing. We are at that hour. It's that time. And to respect everyone's time, it's gonna be that time to ask you this hard-hitting question. And now I just want to let you off the hook in case you were sweating bullets, and I know you weren't, because you're a seasoned grizzled veteran.
I'm like dancing over here.
It's like, yeah, whatever, just bring it on. But the cool thing is about this question is there is no such thing as an incorrect answer. The only correct answer is yours, whatever that happens to be. And so one thing I love when I ask this question, there are certain patterns that I've noticed on other entrepreneurs, and I'm pretty certain that pattern's going to bubble itself right back up here. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it, Brian.
It's a very short, simple question that may take a little bit of thought, but just go with it. So, Chris Burns, how do you personally, you yourself, how does Chris Burns define success?
This moment. This moment is success because I'm doing exactly what I love. I'm in front of a camera, sharing my message, being self-expressed. Love that, number one. Number two, I'm hanging out with another human being who I absolutely love and adore, Mr. Brian Kelly. Number three is this message is reaching people and making a massive difference in people's lives. And when this message reaches one person, most likely many, many more, but when this message just reaches one person and makes a difference, inspires them, empowers them, contributes to their life, then this is a success in their life too. And I could die happy knowing that I, being successful, helped someone else be successful too. So that is what success is to me. It's being my greatest possible self, which I'm doing right now, and becoming my greatest possible self. If I keep doing this, if I keep taking steps forward just like this, I know I will die a very, very happy, fulfilled, all used up man. And that is what is success for me, Brian.
That is amazing. And here's the patterns I've noticed. Not a single entrepreneur yet, not one of my past guests, has answered that question the same way as anyone before them. That was different. And the other thing I've noticed is not a single entrepreneur that I've had on this show has said what many would actually go to say, that weren't as successful, weren't as heart-centered, that didn't understand this whole thing about entrepreneurship. And that is, and you didn't either, and that was, many people will say, well, my level of success, I would define it as having $1 million in the bank. It was money-centric. You didn't go there. No one else has either. And that's why I get to do what I get to do. This moment, that was powerful. When you said that, I had goosebumps. That was like right between the eyes, perfect, on point. And the other common theme with all the previous entrepreneurs is it's not my focus, your focus is not about money. It's about making a difference and serving and helping people. You see, that's the thing. When you focus, not you, Chris, you in general, focus on serving others and helping others and not about what can I get from it, but what can I give, that's when the momentum starts to really roll and rise and get bigger, and you start becoming more and more successful. And there's so many out there that are just looking for the quick kill. How can I make some money today? I've had so many people come and offer me these you're going to make $200,000 in your first year, Brian. Don't you want that kind of money? I said, well, it would be nice to have the money, but who am I impacting by doing that? I'm selling coffee cups on a website. That doesn't really serve anybody except for those who want coffee. It doesn't do it deep enough for me, so it's not enough fulfilling. So thank you, Chris. That shined a light on your persona, your integrity, your character, in 2 words, this moment. That was phenomenal. Well, we've gone 5 minutes over, and that's okay.
Overachievers, let's go.
That's right. Yes, appreciate you, everybody. Just real quick, Chris, what is the best way for folks to get in touch with you? How do they follow your show? They want to, and maybe, this would be a great way, and this is completely up to you, Chris, but if you're not currently doing shows yourself, maybe reach out to Chris and see if he would be open to interviewing you. Maybe he wants to do like a before-after case study. It could be something powerful too. But how can they get a hold of you, Chris?
Yeah, great question. So for me, best way is Facebook, facebook.com/TH3 Burns. That's T as in Tom, H as in Henry, the number 3, and then my last name, Burns, B-U-R-N-S. Facebook.com/TH3 Burns. Find me on there. Send me a message. I'm always checking my received messages to see who's there. And if you heard about me from this show, I would love to connect with you and just let me know what you love the most about the show, or what stood out for you in particular. So that's number 1. I do my marathons, my 12-hour marathons there, facebook.com/TH3 Burns. Every Wednesday, I stream it to my profile. So definitely follow me, favorite me, make sure you see me first. first, so you can see that pop up. And then if you want to go see the individual episodes that have been broadcasted, right now we're up to 233 or so on the website. You can go to just beyourgps.com, beyourgps.com, and then find all the episodes there. Or you can send me an email, chris@beyourgps.com. Again, that's Chris, CHRIS, at BEYOURGPS.com.
Just a couple of ways, so you pick one. Yeah. And now would be the time. I hope you wrote all that down, because right about now would be the time to go ahead and do that. Do that before we actually go off the screen and take massive and immediate action and reach out to Chris. Say, hey, I want to be your friend. I want to follow your show. But just take action. Take that first step if you haven't been doing that. Chris, thank you once again. And everyone on Facebook that's been following along, and Periscope and YouTube and everywhere else, we appreciate you for coming on, being part of this show, being part of Chris's life, being part of my life. Chris, I appreciate you beyond measure. Thank you for being on here. And that's it for this show. Until next time, everyone, please be blessed. All right.
That's right. Make it your best day ever, your best week ever, and become your greatest possible self.
The end.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind Body Business Show with Brian Kelly.